I lived today. I didn't want to. I did it anyway. Welcome to another episode of I Live Today. In the previous episode, I was trying to figure out a way to identify how to stop oneself people pleasing, the reflex people pleasing. And the operative word is reflex. The need to be seen as good becomes a reflex. One learns it throughout life, particularly in childhood. You learn that in order not to be punished, not to be singled out, not to be whatevered, you are quiet, you fit in, you are easy, you please. So, how does one stop a reflex? The only way to stop a reflex is to create a new one. And we learn that in things like fire drills. When I was flying a light aircraft, yes, I was a licensed light aircraft pilot. You practice the things that can go wrong so that you reflexively react when they do go wrong or if they do go wrong. It's a technique they use in advanced driving as well, where you practice bad situations so that in the event of them happening, you can reflexively react, and your reaction will then result in a more positive outcome. So I guess one could do that with people pleasing. I don't know how, because every situation calls for a different reaction within myself. So, as I've established, I react correctly for myself when I don't care whether the person likes me or not. When it's neither here nor there to me. So, for example, an arbitrary stranger comes up to me and asks for money that I don't have. And I look at them and think, well, you actually have more than I do, so no. And my reflex response will be, I'm sorry, I don't have any money, or I have no cash available, or some or other dismissive reaction. If somebody I know of the opposite gender wants to date me and I don't particularly like the idea of dating that person, I will automatically respond in the negative. Because realistically, I don't care whether they want to date me or not, because I don't want to date them. So my reflex is actually pretty good when there are no emotions involved. And I was thinking the other day about an interview situation. You know, you go for a job interview and you know they're going to ask you stupid questions. And truly, they are stupid questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Well, hopefully alive, hopefully with a job, and hopefully earning a little bit more in the company. Why do you want this job? Well, I'm passionate about eating. So the questions are stupid. The expected responses are, I enjoy the ethics of the company, and I would like to grow and develop within the company. That is why I want this job. I believe I can add value. It's bullshit. I want the job because I need an income. Full stop. Unless it's a lawyer, a medical professional, one of those career path jobs, then you have a valid response to it. But for the most part, you want the job because you need an income. And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, hopefully still employed. But what they want you to say for the in 5 years is, I would like to continue learning and growing within the company and adding value to the company. It's bullshit. So my reflex and my entire system, in fact, when I go for a job interview, I don't interview well. When I go for a job interview, I know they are going to ask me stupid questions. And I know my face when I'm saying, oh, I want to continue growing and developing within the company and provide, as much value as I can. I know that my face is saying, you're an idiot. Stop asking me stupid questions. I need food. I need a job because I need an income. And my face says what it says, no matter what I try to do with it. Many, many, many years ago, somebody said to me, Giselle, you can be completely polite to somebody, but they will have absolutely no doubt in their mind that you don't like them. Your face will tell them exactly how you feel. And it's very true. Unfortunately, short of either having plastic surgery and changing my face or Botoxing my entire face so that nothing moves, I have one of those faces that will tell you when I think you're an idiot or I think you're asking me something stupid. So how does one train an already established reflex to reflex differently when there is emotion involved? When I want to fit in, when I want the person to like me, when I want to be included. So you could pause. So someone looks at you and says, and this is now somebody that you'd like to be involved with in some shape or form. And they say to you, what are you doing later today? And this one is easy. You answer, it depends on what you are asking me. That's an easy response. Because I may be busy, and my busy can be doing nothing. So it depends on what you're asking. Why do you want to know? That those are reflexive responses that force the querent to ask the question correctly. Would you do me a favor? Well, it depends on what the favor is. I'm not going to give you a blanket yes if you ask for a favor. You may be asking me to go and, I don't know, break into or vandalize something. So it depends on what the favor is. So that is the gist of the pause. If somebody asks you, a direct question like, would you like to come with me to ABC tomorrow at 3 o'clock? And this is what we need to wear. I will need help. You need to pause. A lot of people would say, let me check my diary. I think I might have something on. I'm not quite sure. I'll get back to you. The people who know me know full well that I know exactly what I'm doing. I plan. So when I do one of those actions, those people automatically get that look on their face like a baby who's had their dummy taken away from them, or a puppy who's been scolded. And of course, that makes me feel bad. It makes me feel as if I am doing something wrong. And then I reflexively, because I want to be included, I want to be included next time, not necessarily this time. I reflexively would respond in the affirmative. And then I have to sit and justify it to myself because there is an emotion involved. So I can't give anybody a solution to the people-pleasing dilemma because it depends on the circumstance, it depends on the people involved, and it depends on how you feel about the circumstance, the people, the situation, the outcome, the event. It also depends on whether or not you want to be included. It depends on whether or not you want to be invited again. Because, let's face it, if somebody asks you to go somewhere and you say no, and they ask you again and you say no again, different event, different occasion, they will never ask you again. So how does one not people please, but maintain some semblance of, I suppose, autonomy or authenticity within oneself, where after you've agreed to something that you really don't want to do, you don't think to yourself, oh good grief, why have I agreed to this? How do I get out of this? What have I got to do to stop doing this? Or alternatively, you actually do it and they then take advantage of you. How does one do it? Think of your own life. How do you not sell yourself short? How do you create the barrier between being seen as good, but actually being authentic to yourself? Because it is self-sabotage. You know, if somebody doesn't have money for food, I will spend my last money to buy them food. I will literally spend my last money for them, whether I have food or not. And it's a reflex. Why do I sacrifice myself for the needs of others? You know, it's very different when the other whose need you sacrifice yourself for is a defenseless child or animal. It's very different to a grown-ass adult who can actually do it themselves. A grown-ass adult who should have planned better, Yes, there are circumstances. Yes, there are situations where the unforeseen happens and the person desperately needs an assist. By all means, assist. But don't assist to your detriment. Don't sacrifice yourself and create an unforeseen circumstance for yourself to the benefit of somebody who didn't plan correctly for themselves. It's this catch-22 that's going on, because on the one hand, shit happens and this person had an issue, so you want to help them. But by helping them, you create a shit happens situation in your own life. That there's a mismatch. So pause. When somebody asks you for something, just pause. Breathe in and out. Maybe respond, let me think about it. Or I'll see what I can do. I see what I can do is a very open-ended statement, because it means I will have a look at the situation and see if I can assist. It's not a blanket refusal. So I still feel I'm being good aspect is alive and well, while you're giving yourself the delay where you can look at the situation without the emotion involved, because it's the emotion that creates the issue. And of course, you can practice. Sadly for me, I can practice every single circumstance known to man, and when the circumstance happens, I will not remember what I practiced. It's a flaw. So for me, it's on the spur of the moment. For me, it's have your ducks in a row, create the pause, take a step back. I'll see what I can do. Let me see if I can. I might be able to help. Let me check my calendar. Because those pauses allow you to step away. How many times when somebody is being nasty to you, do you end the interaction, and while you're walking away, you think, I should have said that? Your brain doesn't function optimally under a stressful situation. And let's face it, when somebody is asking you for something that you don't have ready supply of, it does create a stressor. Well, it does for me in any event. So for me, I'm going to create the pause. I'm going to take a step back, go to my sanctuary, sit at my willow tree, listen to the water bubbling by, watch the birds and the butterflies, and maybe stroke a rabbit or a cat, and think about it, and then get back with an answer that is true to me, that I won't regret, and that hopefully won't leave me feeling betrayed in the long term. Anyway, I lived today. I didn't want to. I did it anyway. Shall we try again tomorrow?